Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. The PSE Stinger G3. Wow, what a bow. Oh, baby, this thing is nice. And it came quite nicely kitted up. I don't think there's much left to buy or anything. But yeah, it's really nice. I got this at Hawk Exchange in North Bay. They originally wanted 300 for this thing. And we've done a first look video on this, but I thought we'd do the review now that I've had a chance to shoot it a bunch. And so anyways, they wanted 3. I hemmed and hawed, and I'm glad I did, because the day I went in a couple days ago to go and buy this thing, turned out they had dropped the price. I didn't even realize it at first. I'm just like, let me take another look, just one more look, because I was looking at crossbows and whatnot over at my buddy's place that has a hawk shop as well. And but yeah, he also didn't have any left-handed recurves. So, but anyways, or sorry, compound. But so anyhow, so I went to Hawk Exchange and I said, let me take another look, just one more look. I want to really think about this. And I thought about it and I said, would you do 300 tax in? He says, let me see what I can do. Now, neither one of us noticed the reduction price sticker till we get to the cash, and he looks up the sticker on there for the number to go in the computer. Oh, it's already been reduced to $199. I said, well, then screw looking it up. I'll take it. For 200 bucks, I'd take the chance that I might need a string, okay? And I was willing to pay the extra because I was going to be going to the archery place anyways, and I could have had this thing like completely restrung, set up the way I want it, blah, blah, blah. And I had the money to do it, so it was kind of like, that's no big deal. And at first they gave out the wrong case. I'm like, that's not the right case. The case actually has the actual quiver in it and some arrows, at least. And so anyways, they hunted around further, found the right case, and we were good. Unfortunately, all the arrows that were with it were the wrong arrows for length. So whoever owned this was a bit of an idiot when it came to the length of their arrows. And we are going to skip across before the end of this video. And I'm going to show you the difference between a proper length arrow at full draw versus the proper length arrow at full draw, because there is a serious difference, and the one is very dangerous, and that's the shorter one. So I want to show you just how short it is. So I don't know what that person was trying to do for arrow tuning, but yeah, craziness. So anyway, this thing's got a whisker biscuit, which I always wanted to try a bow with a whisker biscuit. My buddy swears by them, and so he puts whisker biscuits on all his bows, and I'm like, well, whatever. But there was no actual standard rest with this thing, so I don't know whatever happened to that, because it's supposed to have one. But we can always buy one. I did actually find an authentic left-handed one that would do the trick in case I ever wanted to go back to one. So I'm going to order it, throw it in the box, and, you know, after I make sure it mounts properly, then go back to a whisker biscuit. Because I really like this, because at least with a whisker biscuit, once you put your arrow in there, it's not going to fall out on you. You know, like, you can hold this thing like this, and your arrow is going to stay in there. So I kind of like that idea of the whisker biscuit. And it seems to work well either way. So we'll see. We've got a 3-pin sight. Now, this is unusual. A peep sight that doesn't have a rubber attached. This is the first time I've seen this, because even on my PSE Martin, it had the rubber cable that would flip the peep sight around the right way at full draw. And this, it's already done in there, so it's like, that's kind of neat, and it works great. Now, the alignment, of course, somebody set the top pin for 10 yards, and probably less, but I had to go to the second pin at 10 meters, which is 33 feet, so basically 11 yards, and then things straightened out more. The left and rights are fine. I just got to adjust the height, so I just got to I got to go down to go up. So I got to move it a couple little notches, and because I want the top pin to actually be for basically 10, 11 yards shooting. I want my second one to be, you know, basically twice that, and sector down the rows, right? So I got a little bit of tuning to do, at least on the elevation for sure. Um, the arrows I had custom cut are working perfect. No issues with those arrows; they're flying great. Just that we gotta adjust our sight for our elevation on this thing. We also have the Teflon. I don't know all the technical terms, so I'm sorry, but um, this is the Teflon version here for these two strings, and the archery shop told me that was actually a good thing, okay, because there are cheaper ones that they put on bows that they just get all crammed up and grossed out, and they're garbage. So he said, good thing you got Teflon, and it actually came like that. I've done some research into this bow, so PSE did supply this with the Teflon one. But we got all these anti-vibration rubbers everywhere, which is nice. We've got a, floppy-ish rubber stabilizer that helps reduce that vibration. It's really nice. Okay, I really like how this bow functions. It's very quiet. For one, two, it feels so nice. Now, when it comes to the weight, though, it does have a little bit of weight to it that I'm going to have to get a little more used to, which is fine. It's not a big deal. The poundage was at 46 pounds, and of course, for every turn is 2 pounds. So I've got this thing now set at 50, and it's a little bit to haul back 50 to 46. I mean, that extra 4 pounds, believe it or not, makes a difference, but I have no problem pulling it back. And I could probably put about 18 or 20 rounds through this thing before feeling fatigued. So that's not bad considering I've been shooting 20-pound limbs on my recurve. I've shot the 40s, and I can usually get about 18 shots or so out of the 40s, and I'm pretty much done in. So, this is a little bit better because you do have that let off that you don't have on a recurve, right? Because you're holding all that weight back. But even at 50, that's all I need out of this anyways. It will go to 70, but I don't need it. The quiver is nice. It's definitely a nice quiver. Just pops off. By the way, quivers are not universal. So keep that in mind when you're looking at quivers. If you ever somehow lost your quiver, you're going to have to buy a whole new one with a whole new bracket, because these things are very unique to each other for some reason. They had a few quivers at the Hawk Exchange, and it's like, well, they don't fit. And it's like, well, and then we found out this came with one. And it's even got the spongy stuff in there for your broadheads or field points. Holds 6. You shouldn't need more than 6 when you're out hunting, right? Some people think you don't need more than 3, but it depends on what you're hunting and whether or not you miss. So 6 rounds it is. And it actually isn't in my way. I like it. So even with the arrows all in there, this thing's a pretty mean looking bow, but I do like it. I think it's a really nice bow. PSE makes some of the best bows out there next to Hoyt. They are the 2 more popular brands, apparently, from what I've been told and from what I've read about, and from what I've seen of people having for bows. PSE and Hoyt are kind of like the 2 top dogs out there, and then everybody else is kind of below them, I guess, and there is probably somebody who's the top dog, but I don't really care. The way I look at it, if it's functional, it's quality built, and it's going to get the job done, that's all that matters, right? And nothing wrong with having a nice bow. And for $200, man, that's a scream of a deal. Even the archery shop said, that case is worth over $150 alone. He said, so yeah, you got a screaming deal. And I'm like, cool. And he did check my string. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the string. He said, you're good for a long time. He said, just keep in mind to wax every part of the exposed strings. Always keep those waxed. That's very important. So I wax this thing before every use, no matter what. You can't really overwax a bowstring. At least I've never heard anybody say that you could. So yeah, and I've always waxed my bowstrings before every use. Even on my cheap garbage bows I've had for years that have strings that you can wax. I always wax them and I've never had an issue. But yeah, overall, I really like it. Now, as far as how this thing can be set up, let me just go to the website info that I got on this thing. specific version 3G. Okay, so there's two 3Gs, the 2012 and the 2013. We're not sure which one exactly this one is. It's one of the two. But if we looked really closely at the specs and flipped across, 25 and a half to 30 and a half, 25 and a half to 30 and a half, axle to axles 33 and 33, brace height 775, brace height 775, 40 to 70, 40 to 70, 306 to 314, 306 to 314, 4.7 pounds and 75% let off. Yeah, they're both exactly identical, okay? There were some other versions, because there's a total of 6 versions of this bow. They also have the HP cam from 2011. They've got a 2010, 2009, 2008, and they have some differences, which if you look at the chart, you can actually see where all the differences are. These two, from 2012 and 2013, and the 2011 HP cam, all has 75% let off. The other ones are between 65 to 80%. So even at 75%, I mean, you're still not holding back that much, even at 50 pounds. So that's actually good. And 25 and a half to 30, and this is already set for me at 28. It was already like that, you know, and I was willing to take the time to change it because you don't have to do anything special. You don't need a bow vise of any kind to change your let off and your draw on this. It's just that simple and easy to do. But you got to read the manual for your bow, because some bows, the letters or numbers work in reverse, and whatever you set the outside to, the inside must be set exactly to the same corresponding letter or number, okay? Now we're here at G, and we're at G here, and that's for my setup, and it works fantastic, okay? But very good quality made bow and shoots beautiful. If you get a chance to get your hands on one of these 3Gs, I know they are older models, obviously, but man, I gotta tell you, they're worth every penny. They're really nice, and on the used market is the only place you're gonna get one of these 3Gs, at least in this year. Don't think they make them anymore, period, but they are a very nice bow. I would say this would be pretty much just as good as my PSE Martin that I had. You know, I would say it'd be just as good. And even my recurve is a PSE, so it's like, yeah, I'm a PSE fanatic. It doesn't really matter. There are other bows I'm going to buy, obviously, down the road that are not made by PSE, because I want to experiment with some other brands and other styles of bows. So let's cut to the part of the video where I show you the safe versus not so safe. So you'll see one of the original arrows in here and one of my new arrows that I got custom cut, and you'll see the difference. This is going to help you out to really get a visual too for yourself. And we'll wrap up this video, okay? So off to the computer. So our picture on the left is actually showing one of the arrows that came with this thing. Now, when I was at the archery shop, of course, we didn't have broadheads, but we did try them regardless. Actually, no, we did. We did have one arrow with a broadhead. But anyways, we didn't take pictures. So, but this is one of the original arrows with the broadhead. Okay, and you can see that is way too close because it's coming and creeping on the inside of the riser. That's considered the danger zone. I mean, that is not cool to have your arrow sitting there. Could you imagine if this was on a normal rest, which probably would sit slightly lower maybe? You'd be taking your fingers off, or worse, it could jump off the rest. But either way, when we tested this at the shop, he's like, that's not a long enough arrow. So we measured everything out properly. We checked our draw length of our bow versus me, this and that. And then we put a totally blank full-length arrow into the thing. And then I had put my finger across the front of the riser to add the extra meat difference we needed. And what we came up with was over here on the right side, a proper length arrow. Now, you can go slightly longer than that if you want. Probably about another half an inch would be fine. But you don't want to have too long of an arrow because, well, your point of impact definitely changes quite a bit. Also, many other factors are involved. You can't have too long of an arrow, but you definitely cannot have too short of an arrow, okay? And the one on our left here, that is definitely way too short and dangerously short. So that's the difference. Okay, so to wrap this up, I have absolutely no flipping issue whatsoever of putting this thing at a easy 4.25 out of 5. I really don't want to go too much more into this 4.5ers or just slightly above anymore because realistically, there are flaws in everything. Okay, there's always something that's just off. You know what I mean? But also, nothing is perfect. Okay, now the way I look at it, anything that's a 4-star and slightly above, but never a 5, is definitely worth a serious, yeah, that's worth buying. That's worth seriously looking at, and etc. Okay, um, anything that's too far, like if it's at a 3, I would probably say, yeah, you're taking some chances. Or maybe the person had a bad experience, or maybe they did get a flop, but when it starts getting below 3, definitely avoid just avoid it like the plague. Okay. But I think at 4.25, I mean, this thing shoots so nice. And even drawing back 50 pounds is perfect for big game hunting, at least according to our rules in Canada. And I can hunt turkey and deer with 40 pounds, which is what my recurve's for. But I could do it with this too. It's not a big deal. I just prefer a little bit less draw for that and a little bit more portability sake. Less weight too. My recurve weighs like nothing. This I'm going to have to build some strength up because it does have a fair amount of weight once you got your arm stretched out. It's a bit weighty, but I mean, it's built like a freaking tank. You know what I mean? I think in the overall spectrum of things, I can't knock too much about it. I really can't. Even adjusting the limbs was way too easy. And I also have a micrometer to make sure the limbs are both precisely the same, which I think is also a very important thing. Well, I know it is. So I would suggest if you're going to play around with compounds at all, you have to watch your turns. But at the same time, you got to watch the depth of those each leaf or whatever to make sure they're precisely equal. And that's where a micrometer comes in real handy. But anyway, I love the bow. I think it's fantastic. I would highly recommend that if you're looking for a good used bow, this would definitely be one to take a look at of many choices that are out there. And PSE does make some of the top stuff in my opinion too. I've owned PSE stuff before. Both my current bows are PSE, and I just love them both. The build qualities are fantastic. They shoot great, etc. Anywho, that's what I got for you on this one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But if I can pick this thing up for $200 Canadian, I'm sure you could too in Canadian dollars. And in the States, you're probably going to be looking at about $150. But I've even seen these on eBay for around $300 as well. So it's kind of it's kind of your option. I mean, it's still kind of worth the $300 if you ask me. But I'm just happy I got it for even less. So works for me. Anyhow, that's it. That's all. Thank you so much for watching and checking out the video, and we'll be sure to catch you on the next one. See ya.